Welcome back to Untamed Social, the podcast where we get real about what actually works in social media. Today's episode, we're talking about, in my opinion, one of the most overused but most misunderstood words in marketing, which is authenticity. And I know we've actually done a few episodes in past seasons about authenticity, but I think we're going to dig a little deeper today and talk more about like how brands can actually improve on it and why it's so important. Everyone says that you need it. And it's difficult to go in between or crossing between oversharing and looking unprofessional. So I've got the perfect guest for today. We have Tyson Payne here. She is actually a marketing strategist here at Strella Social Media. You've probably seen her on past episodes. She's got over 20 years of experience helping brands cut through the noise and connect with their audience in a way that actually works. And in my opinion, Tyson kind of brings this really rare combo of creative insight mixed with technical know-how and really just bold strategy. So Tyson, thanks so much for being on today.
Anytime, of course.
Super excited. So just to like give a preface of what we're going to talk about today, we're going to really break down, hopefully, what authenticity actually means. And we're going to talk about some simple ways to start showing up more genuinely online and how to make it part of your strategy so that it actually drives results. Because the truth of the matter is none of it matters if it's not actually making conversions. So I feel like the best way to start is, Tyson, in your opinion, when you hear the word authenticity in marketing in general, what does that really mean to you? And what do you think most brands kind of get wrong about it?
So when I hear authenticity, I don't think of like stock photos. I don't think of captions that were written, solely in AI. I think in a lot of ways, authenticity is actually synonymous with consistency. And it's, especially for a corporate setting, it's less about being like raw and more about being aligned with your voice. So first you have to understand what your voice is, and then getting aligned with that. So it's not just what you say, it's also when you say it, how you act after you've said that. And especially where social media is concerned, like we have to remember social media is social. So this is a platform where we're trying to, it's not a press release, right? We're trying to show the brand's personality. We're trying to show what they're made of. And authenticity, I think in a corporate sense, means showing that, but staying intentional. So,
yeah, I like how you said that too about it not being a press release, because I think a lot of times, especially more corporate brands, get really, really stuck in this whole press release mentality of like where you're just giving information and it needs to sound super professional, and
yes.
it lacks, in my opinion, kind of like what you were talking about, where social media, it needs to be social. In my mind, authenticity is about, okay, well, number one, it's about relatability, especially to your target audience, whoever that may be, and really showing up and driving conversation with that target audience. That's where the social aspect comes in. If you're just coming in and posting things that aren't driving any sort of conversation or relatability to your audience, then just do a press release. Like, what else is there to do, right?
Right.
So I like that.
I think if you could swap out your social feed for your competitors and no one would know the difference, like your audience wouldn't know, then you have a problem. So
yeah, I agree. And another thing too that I think is a misconception that a lot of brands have is that with authenticity, it means vulnerability, right? Like you just spill all the tea, you don't hold back, and you just give it all. How do you feel like brands should really decide what's worth sharing and what should be locked away in the closet?
So this is a mistake that I see brands make often. And when they come to us and we're having to help them refine their voice, sometimes this is the mistake that they've made, which is assuming that authenticity is the same as being casual. And for some brands that works, being very casual, but for a lot it doesn't. And I think sometimes brands feel pressured to be casual in the name of authenticity, which is not the same thing. Like if that's your only focus, you're going to come across as sloppy and off brand. And so I think you can avoid that oversimplification by making sure that strategy is still driving your content, even though you are saying real things and being authentic. So ask yourself questions like, is this helping me meet my business goals? Is this information, even if it's something funny, is this what my audience cares about and wants to hear from me? Because you don't want to just throw spaghetti at the wall, and hope something sticks and get too casual. So I think it's about openness, but it's about purposeful openness and having a reason for what you're saying and a strategy behind it still.
Yeah. And I think when you say that, it makes me think, like where I got my start really was on Instagram, and I was helping online teachers get bookings for their classes and showing them how to market on Instagram to get more bookings. And at the time, previously I was an online teacher. So obviously, I've got that in common with my target audience. It'd be important to know that information to do that. So I remember at the time, I actually was going through a separation with my ex-husband. And at one point, and maybe this can help people put into perspective, where you draw the line. And sometimes it's really murky in my opinion, because I was at home teaching online classes, and then I transitioned into helping other teachers market on Instagram. And I found myself in a position where I was really struggling personally. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to be open and honest. Instead of hiding behind all of the struggles that I'm going through personally, there's probably some people in my target audience who can relate, where they're single moms or they're struggling in their own marriage. And so I just shared and said, look, listen, I'm going through a separation. I'm moving. This is really tough for me, whatever. And the funny thing about it is that skyrocketed. My business actually doubled in income after that. But what people don't tell you is that then becomes what you're known for. I found that after I shared that information, it was okay, Lainey's the online teacher who's going through a divorce. And then it became people constantly DMing me saying, I'm so sorry you're going through this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm over there I don't want to talk about it anymore. Stop right. DMing me.
Right. No, I get that. I think sort of there's a balance, right? Like you were saying, you can cross this line. And obviously being authentic paid off for your personal brand, but it sort of weighed you down. But I think maybe the caveat there is remembering to tie back into your brand, right? So you still could have said I'm having a rough go, guys, without as many details, and tie it back into your brand. Be single momming is hard, but I really appreciate my clients and their willingness to work with me and give me some slack, and kind of tie it back in, and then it can help stay grounded.
Yeah, because that's definitely, I feel a mistake that I myself made. And then I've seen other brands do that, recently. There's been this whole Waterboy scandal on TikTok, and I feel the CEO came on and he was very vulnerable and said, he didn't leave out a detail. And I'm thinking to myself, there are some things you can hold back on. I know from experience. So that also comes into play, I think there's, I don't even know if it's a misconception, but there is this kind of dilemma of understanding what type of brand you have, whether it is more of a professional brand that needs to have that corporate undertone to it or not. Do you feel like any brand can really be themselves online, or are there times when tone and personality don't translate as well on social?
So I feel like every brand can be themselves online, and every brand should be themselves online. But I think part of that is understanding what themselves is. And so I think that's where having a professional team comes in, right? And working with a marketing team to understand what your voice is and how you want to present that. And again, I really feel like in that way, authenticity is really synonymous with consistency, deciding who you are and then holding to that. And in that context, yes, every brand should be themselves online. Does that mean that every brand is a fraternity house at the university? No. Some brands are a lot cleaner. Most brands are a lot cleaner than that, right?
Yeah.
So decide what it is that you are, and then be that. Be true to that. And I think it takes sometimes some experience to know how to do that. So.
Yeah, I think it can easily get lost in translation when you see all of these other brands who are showing up maybe a little more whimsical. I don't really know how to describe, like they're just more free flowing and they lack that kind of corporate side to them. Like Duolingo is a great example. So they're showing up and they're really hitting hard for Gen Z, Gen Alpha. So I think that target audience also plays a big role in that too, in knowing your audience. So consistency, not only with your own brand messaging, but consistency in who are you speaking to?
Yeah, it's true. And just some clarity, right? Like, I know this is going to sound alliterative as I said it in my head, but like if you're too casual without clarity, you just end up chaotic. And there's enough chaos on the internet, right? We don't need any more. So if you can streamline your content and understand who you are and put that out there, and maybe you are Duolingo and it's a party over there, and I love that for them, but maybe you're not. That's okay too. You just need to understand who you are. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. And it makes me think of also like Nutter Butter.
They're so fun.
Their marketing strategy went left real quick. I don't know. I mean, it worked, right? Like the name got out there, but then that's another question is like, okay, so how do you balance that? If I feel like being in marketing, I hear a lot of different things, right? Mm-hmm. So I hear, I just read a book recently from Mark Schaefer talking about how to create awe-inspiring content, right? Like how do you actually drive emotion from them? And it's about thinking outside of the box and doing things really creatively. But then if you are more of a corporate brand, then it's very easy to be stuck in that and it have sort of like a boring feel to it. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Like, if that's authentically who your brand is, like maybe a little less exciting, do you stick to that or do you try to step outside of the box?
You know what? I think that's where real creativity and where real artistry in marketing comes in, is that you can put creativity and you can put fun and humor really into any sector. Just you have to be authentic about it. So I would suggest when you're seeking balance, there's a couple questions you can ask yourself. So the first is, does the content that I'm thinking of putting out, does it serve my audience? So does it in some way speak to the people that I want to speak to? So if I'm being funny, am I being funny to them, not to my teenagers who think I'm hilarious, by the way.
Right.
But am I being funny to my, professional great audience? The second question is, does it serve my business goal? So we're not just marketing for the hell of it, right? We're trying to market in a way that meets a goal and that pushes us in a direction. And your messaging becomes consistent, right? Across social media, across email, across your website, and you get this voice going. And so you need to ask, is what I'm about to put on social media, does it serve my business goal? And does it serve my audience? And if it's doing those two things, then you're pretty on track. Go ahead and take a risk. Go ahead and try something. Go ahead and be funny and creative within that context. If you're able to meet those two criteria, go ahead and try it. The worst that can happen is you have a bad day on social media. Right. But if you stay in that context, that's the worst that can happen. You're probably not going to blow stuff up if you stay in that context. So.
Yeah, and that actually falls like right in line too. I did an episode a few weeks ago with Alex M.H. Smith, and he's really big into business strategy. But we, of course, talked a lot about marketing strategy with that. And it was mainly about, like how do you stay relevant with your marketing? And he made a very good point, which is exactly what you just said, that there's a difference between business strategy and marketing strategy. If your business strategy is solid, that's timeless. That's never changing. Your marketing strategy absolutely can flow and be relevant and do all the things as long as it matches all of the goals that you have with your business strategy. So I think that's a nice distinction to have between the two, because sometimes, especially, senior level, they don't consider that, and they're just like, you're the marketing person, figure it out. And it's like, like, let's connect the dots, let's all work together here.
Yeah, you got to evolve, you got to take some risks. I kind of think of social media as like your first date, right? I have third dates with clients when we're really strategizing about their business, but your social media is really like not the place to talk about like your weird aunt's political
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah.
Like, you're just getting to know your people. So.
Yeah, you're putting yourself in a very bad position if you're planning to go that route. Yeah. So,
Don't get
okay.
so intimate. Like, we're not going to make out on the first date. Don't get so intimate. Like, it's just social media. You want to kind of keep it light, keep it interesting. Yeah. That's what's going to serve your audience on social media. So.
Definitely. Okay. So thinking of that then, like, there's a lot of different ways to look at content, right? Like the messaging in itself, but then you also have things like the graphics, the visuals, videos. I think it's, you know, the days of stock imagery, like you mentioned earlier, like they're gone. They're not there anymore.
Right.
I mean, but now you have this new age coming in with AI imagery. I mean, it's actually mind blowing to think of like the things that we're consuming on social media right now that half the time we don't even know if it's AI or not. How can, in your opinion, brands make sure that their visuals in regards to the content feel authentic, that they're not staged, they're not corporate, they're not using those stock photos and imageries, but also not doing the new wave necessarily of AI?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And we did a whole episode about AI and making AI come across as authentic. I would encourage people who are interested in what we're saying right now to listen to that episode. But a lot of, well, if you're going to use AI for imagery, a lot of it is about training your AI to understand your brand voice. And I won't go into that in this episode. Go listen to the other one. Training your AI is really important. But there's also something to be said to just like, I think we can do away with creativity when we lean too hard on AI. So there's something to be said to just making your own content, like go for it and get creative about it. There's a few things that can be a really small shift from what you're doing now to what will make it feel more authentic. One is using like real environments or natural lighting, letting imperfections creep in a little bit. That like subconscious conveyance to your audience that this is not AI is actually really helpful in social media. So having everything be too staged, think of like, I have an example that I just thought up. So think of like a home decor brand, right? Like if you look at like Walmart's candle section, like every picture looks the same. It's all a candle with a different color and a different description of the fragrance on the side. And then think of like West Elm, which is like real textures, real rooms, shaking out a comforter in the sunshine, a real person moving through a space. Mm-hmm. And that invitation into the world of the brand, it really pulls that authenticity out. So if you're going to make a small change, I would say do something real. Our most popular posts at Strella are always the personal brand of the people who are involved with the company. Always. It never fails. So that's one risk you can take too, is go ahead and let the world see the inside of your brand a little bit. Limiting props, that smells really, corporate. Retakes for perfection. Just try and be social about it.
Yes, that's so funny. Just before we came in here, I was actually looking at our Facebook, and Jess is going to kill me, but every week we have this creative meeting, and the last one that we were in, I just like snapped a picture when nobody was like prepared. I didn't tell anybody. I just snapped a picture, and I posted it on our socials, and I know poor Jess, she's smiling, her eyes are closed, and I know she's like, Lainey, why did you do that? But the truth of the matter is that if I would have said, hey guys, everybody stop, smile at your webcam real quick, and let's snap a picture, it wouldn't have had the same effect. Mm-hmm. Whereas like when I just snapped it and didn't give anybody any heads up, we're all laughing, and it gives like the true sense of what those meetings are like and what our company culture is. Even though, like, most of the time, like you said, that perfection, you want it there, it's actually better to just, like, really let it be in the moment and show what the truth is about your environment, the company culture, all of that. So I definitely
if you have a catalog, if you have a brochure, maybe for your website, you can chase down that perfection. But for your social media, just let it go. Just relax a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Please don't take your pants off, but just relax a little bit, like...
Oh my goodness, that would be a choice. It would definitely be a choice.
And if we're being honest, real quick, like at our company, we feature you a lot because you have a really strong personal brand. Sometimes like the video preview that we've made of you is like your mouth's a little open or something. And we don't fix it. And who on our team has the strongest personal brand? And that's you, because you take those risks and you lean back into that authenticity. And obviously, like, you're a case study in yourself, right? You're on a really good team, but your personal brand is much stronger because you do that. So.
Yeah, well, and that's something that I had to learn. Like that's been years in the making, you know, where I am grateful for it, because now I don't even look at the stuff that like is posted, where if I'm making a TikTok video for Strella, I'm not retaking 100 times. Whereas like when I started out, I was retaking a billion times. Like, oh, I look awful on that. And now I'm just like, I don't really care. Let it go. And let me just get the message out. And that's all that matters. And so I do think authenticity is part of that too. We're just like, it doesn't mean necessarily showing flaws. Whereas like when you're looking at it from your own perception, it probably does come off as like, all I'm seeing are all of my flaws. I stumbled here. I did this. And the truth of the matter is like, we're just human. Everybody, you know, stutters like I just did, you know. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter, and that comes with time, I feel like.
Well, I think some people listening might be thinking like, well, what's the point of showing that human side? And I'll just drop the reminder that the point is that instills trust. Yeah. So people can trust you. If they can trust you, they can trust your brand, and trust is what facilitates sales. And that's just the simple math of it. So. Definitely.
Okay. So last question then. I'd like for us to like give the audience like one small win, one takeaway. If they're, for any brand that feels like they have been kind of stuck in this too corporate, too polished mindset on social media, can you give any advice? What's one step that they can take this week to start showing more of their real side?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it, but I think one small thing you can do is post something real. So go ahead and try it out. Like put our rubber to the road and see if that works for you. So just strip back, use a real photo, use a conversational tone in a caption, put it in a story so it disappears if you hate it.
Yes.
And just give it a try. The worst that can happen is you hate it and it disappears in 24 hours. The best that can happen is you find out that your audience actually likes you, which is really encouraging. So.
I like that you mentioned stories too, because that's exactly how I got to be most comfortable. And whenever I give advice for people who aren't comfortable on camera, I always say Instagram stories. Post multiple stories a day. Don't edit anything. Just show up, be yourself. And the more that you do that, because you know it's going away, then the more that you do that, the more comfortable you become with it. And I think that's great advice. So I'm glad that you said that.
Sure.
Great job. Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Big thanks to Tyson for cutting through the fluff with me and showing us exactly what authenticity on social media, there it is, actually looks like. If there's one takeaway from this conversation, like she said, it's just that being real isn't about telling your audience everything, but it is about showing up in a way that builds trust and keeps people coming back for more. So if you found this episode helpful, be sure to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with a friend whose brand could use a little less polish and a little more personality. Thanks so much, Tyson.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's episode and you learned a lot, imagine what you and your team could do with a fully customized strategy day. Our consulting boot camps are tailored to meet your biggest needs, whether that's boosting engagement, building content plans, or coming up with a brand new strategy. If you want to learn more, just hit the link below in the show notes.